Hello, it's Pixie doing another video, so it's a slightly different one about no contact. So originally I did a load of videos because I was feeling crap at the time, but it's also helped me get things out. I was learning things, and I was hoping if I shared a bit of it, it may bring some light to someone else's life, because there's always going to be somebody else who's either going to be better than you or worse off you emotionally, or they're doing alright and suddenly they drop and then they need to pick themselves back up. So I did a bit of study in the old no contact, because to be honest, it isn't really something I was into, sort of playing these games where you don't communicate for long periods of time and stuff like that. But it makes sense. There are times when blokes don't communicate, like usually their mates if they're a bit busy. Alright. That's alright, my arse. Anyway, sorry about that. So there's times when men are quite distant anyway, but I don't think they're. It's kind of like a skill. It might be sometimes. I think they just get preoccupied with their thinking because they're not always social creatures. They sort of switch on and off, but women tend to be more clued up socially. It's just the way we are, because they do a lot more organising and other things. It's just the way gender works. Even though I've come across some interesting things about gender, some unusual things as well. Okay. And I think that's the first step, is understand the psychology of differences, not just with the sexes, but also characteristics with the person as well. So I basically decided I needed to focus on myself, because I'd been focusing on this other person so much. I'd been playing the white knight, and I realised what a mistake that was, but I also realised it's a social trend that sadly is upon a lot of us. That you find someone who's a little preoccupied in whatever they've going on in their life, they're dealing with some other stuff, but they haven't really gone into any detail with you, and you just kind of want to help them, support them. So you're kind of already being a nurturing partner, even though there is no relationship there. And the problem with that is that you're investing yourself into the relationship, and they don't notice you. You know, it's like, I don't know, bringing the teacher the apple each day. You're going an extra distance you don't need to go, but you're doing it, and it doesn't mean anything to them, but you wish it did. You think at some level you're trying to think for them, and it doesn't work at all. It just sort of folds inwards. You realise actually, if you give someone everything they want, then they seem to value you less. It's just one of the things. So sometimes people say one thing, but actually physically do the opposite, because they got this predisposition to whatever they're, I think women and men do, I'm afraid. It's just one of the things. Like, for instance, it might sound like sexist, but I found out this woman was quite good at cooking cakes, so she seemed more attractive. I thought, oh, cakes! It's not that I expect her to cook me cakes, but I'm suddenly aware that she can actually, provide at some level, and she has a kind of admirable skill. Admirable, maybe I should use. Stuck me out on a bloody bus. Yeah, you do whatever you like, mate. I would like to do that, but I don't think I can. It's just the way buses are. They go stop and they just block. You can't see anything around them and anything. So yeah, it was interesting, just different things. But the same way, I mean, if say, for example, a woman was chatting to a guy and he said he likes doing football, or he's got quite sporty, he's athletic, so he's healthy, he's into team sports. There might be kind of, the attraction is he might have skills now. You might think, well, yeah, he can work in certain different environments. Come on. And team player and things like that. You think, okay, yeah. Or if you found out he coached children, you think, oh, that's quite nice, isn't it? It means he gets along with kids quite well, and you might see sort of, it depends what you want from this person, fatherly skills. it's sadly, sometimes it's a little too obvious. People say, well, what job do you do, and what do you do? You know, it's like you're filling out an application form just to get to know someone a lot better. And odd things, you know, just terms that are a little bit, maybe I'm a bit old-fashioned. You know, when people say they're not available emotionally and stuff, it's like, what does that mean? I mean, I can't say you're not ready, or maybe you're not interested, or you don't see someone in a certain way. That makes sense. When you say you're not available, it's like you're a product, and it just like, I don't really. Okay, it's sort of like, I don't know. Is that a nice way of putting me down? I don't really understand. But it's nice if someone says it to your face rather than you fall out and then they say something like, it's like, I don't understand what's happened. It's all happened too quickly. But the thing I wanted to touch upon, I was just watching a video and it covered things like introverts. I was thinking about different characteristics in people. And so I could be a bit more extrovert, and it might make me a bit brandish, it might be a bit more sensitive. A lot more energy there potentially. I can be very supportive, but obviously at the other end of the scale I can be quite annoying if I wanted to be. But I do have a good sense of empathy, so it's not like I just kind of put the pressure on. Basically, if you see someone buckling, like if you're as an extrovert, you kind of draw energy in from around you, while an introvert might draw it from themselves in some way. And if you can see that they're kind of weakening, you may just overcharge them with your own energy, you know? Sort of like take their idea, run away with it, and they don't really have a chance to tell you how they feel or think or anything. So you can be quite selfish as an extrovert. But then introverts can be so selfish as well. They just close down on people, and then they're not really telling you how they really feel, or they're afraid in some way, or I don't know. It gets very complicated. And you just think, well, just tell me how you feel. I'm not going to bite you, because I want to be open and honest with you, you know. But it's that fear of repercussion. And also how you approach things, like no contact. Probably for me, I'm quite a powerful bloke if I wanted to be as well. You know, if I'm 6'1", and the person maybe not feeling like, you know, A1 themselves for whatever reason, it's this is why there's always this. The law protects the female because of being the fairer sex or something. It's a nicer way of saying they're a little bit more delicate. And potentially that's true. If I had that will about me that I wanted to cause a woman harm. But then equally, there's a lot of tough women out there. It's not like I'm saying everyone's a walk in the park or anything. It's just I think the power that I could unleash could be quite devastating, but I wouldn't need to, because a bit like it's a bit like when you get dogs. Because I'm powerful, I don't need to. I'd rather be seen as gentle. And most larger animals are not really going to be demonstrating their power. They just got it there if they need it. It's the ones that have something to prove, like the little dogs. They tend to be more gobby, or more cunning. So there's a different need for them to act in a particular way. I mean, any of them can train their behaviour, and the same way humans can, you know. If they've got a lot of power and they've been left alone, people are just like, well, I don't want to get the wrong side of him, so leave it. But then a little person might think, well, I don't want you to think I don't have it in me, so I'm going to kind of be quite on the ball and bossy and stuff. So it's dealing with different people and different approaches, and also elements. People have personality elements, and it probably goes into the astrology for the types. So for me, fire. Sort of fire type. If I want it to be exactly, I've got I'm slightly cunning like a snake, and I've also got a big heart like a lion. So I've got this a pride basically. Pride won't take up the time. That feeds into the ego, which feeds into the extrovertism. If that's a word, I just made it up. Well, you can get introvertism, I'm sure you can. So they basically complement each other. The more pride I have in myself, the stronger I feel, sort of thing. And also with a partner, I'd have a pride in them. So they're not exactly an extension of me, but I do value putting energy into a person. not necessarily to get it back, but only as it's kind of like I've given you something of value of myself. Which sounds a bit odd, doesn't it? Energy or something. So how do you bridge the gap when you go to no contact? Well, if somebody's introverted, like I said, watching it, so when you want to be maybe a bit more gentle, possibly want to approach it slightly different. Letters, you don't want to be too forceful. You kind of want to give, what I've done is I've always given the power to every person, because I'm aware of that. I'm aware that there may be a displacement of different types of power. I'm not saying they don't have power, I mean they might have it in a different way. But I'm probably, with that extrovert, I'd rather meet somebody a bit more directly. I mean, I'd be uncomfortable as they would be, but I would rather that I could just talk and see how they feel, and I wouldn't feel so bad in myself. It's like, it's not what I'm looking for, so that's fine. Is there any chance we could still be friends in some way? And then basically that's when no contact would be quite good. So we should give each other a bit of a break, but we should definitely probably meet up in a few months and have a drink or something, and then that would be awesome, but that kind of thing doesn't really happen in the real world, because most people waited until they got really annoyed before they broke off the communication, or they didn't say that they were recovering emotionally from stuff, and so they needed some space. It's hard. I know it's going to be a lot harder for somebody who's introverted. I mean, extrovert is throwing myself out there, because there is no fear, but I accept they might think, if you're too honest, they might think you're a bit of a weirdo. It's just one of them things. Like I said, I told you how I felt and what's happened. It's like a bit like when I went into no contact before, and if you tell your friends, you don't always get a mixed reaction, because they've got a different approach how they date and mix with women or men or whatever they're into. And so they're thinking, well, why do you get so involved emotionally? Why don't you just be sort of distant and cold? I think, well, that's not my style, because they're a different element style, I guess. I would say, but once they're sort of hooked on them, then they might react differently. They would definitely become attached. Don't know. It depends on the person. Depends if they're a bit more. Like I know a chap, he's more like a Scorpio, so he's very much sort of sexually interested in women, but emotionally he doesn't like to be that vulnerable. But I think he has been in the past and hurt, but he never talks about it. Or he's just annoyed. I think he just dated women that probably drove him a bit crackers at times, and so he's got that as the template. And there's the repeated mistakes that we can all make as well. We don't see it often, but it might be there. It's a bit more difficult to avoid, to be honest. We're getting too into it. So how do we manage? I mean, potentially, the thing is with introvert, having no contact ever again is maybe one of the ways that they would prefer to go anyway, which is fine. It's not something. I mean, I don't hold people back. I just think it's a pity, really, or they shouldn't be afraid of me. If you can't talk to me, it seems. But I have to accept that if they're an introvert, the idea of any sort of direct communication might scare them, because they think, well, he's going to quickly take over the situation and force me or try to manipulate me, and I have no interest in that sort of stuff. So the only way you could do, really, the approach for that would be a letter, because it's not pushy. And just be really nice, really. I think if I do write a letter, well, I have got a letter at home, but I think, should I send it, shan't I? And it's really, really small, and it's just kind of like, you can grab. So it's well placed, a little bit of humour, and not overdone, because I put a lot more humour in the last letter I did, and I haven't written one for like 3 months or something. So it was just going to sort of say, if you like, we can go grab a coffee or a movie, because I know this place they do both. I said, how crazy, next we get a coffee place in a cinema, next you get a cinema thingy in a coffee place. So it's kind of a bit of tongue in cheek. And then just say, if we can't be friends, it would still be nice to meet up, and then just say, like, hope you're doing well, we could that, or just leave it, and leave it here, just in case you've lost my number for whatever reason. No, you can't say that. Just put your name and then the number and leave it. And I think you've done everything. And even if the thing of the introvert, you might say, well, don't have anything to do, don't have any communication. But when they see you, they're going to panic because it's unresolved. They're going to assume, oh crumbs, I've got time, I think I'll be stuck in traffic today. Yeah, because they're not going to know how to take you. But at least with the letter, he said there's like no hard feelings. And then also, for my type of personality, I mean, the worst case scenario is if if I found her with somebody else and that kind of thing. Not that anything really had taken off with us. It's just that you kind of thought, because what might happen is you say, oh, I'm not interested for whatever reason, you know, and then suddenly you are. It's like, well, what's happened here? But the thing is, you don't own them, so they just let them do whatever they like. So you basically got to just live in the now. There's no point thinking it's just happened, because what happens, the other thing is with the problem with the past and memory, is that you might follow it on from the point where you last saw them, and it's not, that gap of time is, you need to inject that and say, so basically the relationship ended when you went no contact for a month. You no longer become that person and this person, you know, you don't know them anymore, to be honest. I mean, you like what you know about them, like qualities you might have, interests if they still have them, etc., humour, whatever, you know, there's still characteristics, but as the person you don't know them, because if it's been 3 months, a lot could have changed them. I mean, look at me, I've lost 2 stone in 3 months, so I've probably changed I've changed my appearance slightly as well. But that was all a part of the new me and self-improvement, really. That was the goal. And now I've found a new path there, and it's basically I've taken a negative and turned it into a positive. So I do the yoga, do the OMAD, study new things, open mind. What am I looking for in life? That kind of question. It's really difficult. I'm not really fussed about relationships at the moment. And I think that's most guys are like that, to be honest. If you feel that you need a relationship, then you've got to work on yourself. That's the key goal. There's a lot of people walking around saying they're looking for their other half and stuff, and the sadness there is that they should understand what they've got in them already. So you don't need another person to make you whole. You need to find yourself. But it's nice to be valued, though. I mean, the way to look at it, if you've got both halves, if you're a whole person, and that you see this other person other half, you're one and a half. You're an extra. You're half an extra person than before emotionally. So you've gained experience and memories and so on. But you're not trying to fill a gap in. If you're trying to fill a gap in, then that's very hard. You're always going to be in conflict with your past. You're always going to be bringing up things connected to emptiness and stuff like that. And that's the thing. I mean, there's certain signs. I should write a book for myself. This is a guide. If someone's like this, do not. And it'd be really hard though, because chemistry is different than that. But you can say, look, it does say you shouldn't do that. I mean, or how you approach it, you know, it's just some things. The la-di-da-ness takes over, and it's nice to think you can fix things. I mean, men do that, they think they can fix everything. They either destroy things or they build things. That's the worker class on the outside. And so, I don't know, I mean, some things, why certain types of people are attractive, like lost boy types and I think the bad boys, because they're not emotionally attached in the same way. And so, if you could change that, it would mean an exclusive relationship. This person's somewhat different. I mean, it's the same as well as an exclusive. Once a woman's had children with someone, she's had something that if she goes to a new partner, they don't have children, she has something with that person forever that he will never have. That's why it's always a bit strange when you see things saying looking for a soulmate. It's not, they're lying, because they've had children. It's difficult if the person's died, I can understand that a bit more. They're a widow, they basically want back what they've lost, which makes a lot of sense. Or they're looking for, you know, trying to get themselves back to where they were because it was something tragic happened to them. But if they went with someone, had children, and they've got bored of them and moved on, now looking for a bloke who's got more stability in his life, it's not a soulmate they're looking for somebody financially stable. They're looking for somebody long-term, financially stable, who can support them and their children. But it doesn't sound very attractive. You know, if you, on the other way round, if you went to a woman and said, I'm looking for someone to support me and my children, they'd be like, whoa, no. I don't think it would happen. Unless you charmed the hell out of them, I don't think it would happen now. They'd lose interest. Not unless they're like a billionaire-ess or something. But then what do you have? It always comes down to some material values. So if you've got great health, great genes, the spermat's good, your mind's in a good place, you echo their interests, basically you're going to enhance their life in some way. If you entered, you'd enhance it. And there's other areas. In modern society, the women tend to choose the men. So there's other things you can't rush, like if somebody's very available, you know, they're actually giving you all the signals, then or you could easily move into that. But however, it's often the woman that might be doing certain types of work. Like she's invited to come round, spend time, help her do things and stuff. You have to establish where that's going. Is she trying to turn you into a friend? You're dangerously entering a friend zone. But you're also having a more exclusive access to getting to know her better. And she may be evaluating if you're the kind of guy that would be a mate or would be more than a mate. So the only way to do that is to be available some of the time and then have some time for yourself. And it's kind of the time you spend with yourself doing something may create her to want you more by not being so available. But I mean, having good quality time with the person, but make sure you spend time supporting yourself. Because then she realises there's more to you that she's had access to yet. You know, like if I go off to do yoga and she doesn't do yoga, but she's interested in yoga, she'll want to know about yoga. And I don't have to rush to tell anyone about yoga. I can say, oh yeah, it's this and that. And you can keep it quite simple. I said, oh, you know, it's a bit like OMAD. I could talk all day about it. But if I told someone all the secrets, then they would know everything, so it would change them. Anyway, please sign off. I'll speak to you soon.